of Skillshare Premium membership so you can explore your creativity. Independent Taiwan is a political stain on the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party. Although the ruling government in Beijing has never exercised authority over the island, Chinese policymakers consider it part of the People's Republic of China. They have vowed to take it back by force if necessary. This uncompromising approach wasn't always so. In the early 1980s, Beijing designed the one country, two systems principle to regain control over Hong Kong and Macau. Simultaneously, the principle set a roadmap for Taiwan's reunification with China somewhere down the line. However, in the decades following Hong Kong and Macau's merger into China, Taiwan had drifted further away. Beijing used economic isolation and political interference to coerce reunification, while Washington provided sophisticated weaponry to the Taiwanese military. Tensions fluctuated over the years, and Beijing's carrot and stick policy kept on backfiring. Eventually, in 2016, China cut ties with Taiwan after the election of pro-independence forces. Washington then sold even more arms to Taiwan, while Beijing increased military activity near the Taiwan Strait. The biggest game changer, however, was the Hong Kong protests in 2019. The way Beijing handled the demonstrations and its steady encroachment on Hong Kong's legislature completely vaporized the last chance for peaceful reunification. China and Taiwan are now on irreparable ends, and Beijing is switching from soft power to hard power. Its air force flies near the Taiwanese airspace on a daily basis, and its incursions have breached previously respected boundaries. At the same time, China's navy has procured high-tech weaponry for offensive purposes and openly drills for a Taiwan takeover. In Beijing, policymakers believe that America, long viewed as the custodian of Taiwan, might be too preoccupied at home to bear the costs of intervening on Taiwan's behalf. So there's talk of acting against Taiwan sooner rather than later. Yet, of all the anxieties on China's ambitions for Taiwan, none carry more weight than the assessment of Admiral Philip Davidson, the chief of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. During a Senate committee in February 2021, Davidson argued that China's consistent development and procurement of ships, warplanes, and rockets serve to displace the United States as the dominant power in Asia-Pacific by 2050. Taiwan is one of China's ambitions, and Davidson believes a conflict is possible in the next 6 years. Bringing Taiwan under China's wing would grant Beijing a commanding position in Asia. It would entrench the Chinese military in the middle of the first island chain, which is a string of islands stretching from the Japanese archipelago to the Philippines to Indonesia. Control over Taiwan would also allow China to dictate terms in the nearby shipping lanes, giving it tremendous leverage over rival powers such as Japan and South Korea, who are entirely dependent on the sea lines of communication. Having consolidated power in its enclosed seas, China would have free access to the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Needless to say, the stakes are high for regional and global powers alike. But be that as it may, China faces an undeniable conundrum. Its military may not be up to the task, at least not without taking massive losses. China has a vast military that is increasingly becoming more sophisticated, but it also has a lot of territory to cover with powerful adversaries on all fronts. Taiwan also has a sophisticated military, and though its size is much smaller, they only need to operate in a small battle space, facing one opponent. This then, coupled with the fact that America and Japan would de facto back Taiwan, levels the playing field. China's annual military budget is estimated at $250 billion, compared to only $11 billion for Taiwan. The Chinese military also has 12 times the manpower of the Taiwanese, and last year Beijing commissioned 25 advanced new ships to its fleet, including cruisers, destroyers, and ballistic missile submarines. Taiwan is also expanding its navy, particularly its submarine fleet. By 2026, the Taiwanese fleet will quadruple to 8 diesel-powered submarines. Though the additional submarines would make China's amphibious landing all the more difficult, the rate at which China expands its military capacity is incomparable. With each year, the military imbalance grows in favor of Beijing. Having said that, even with China's growing capacities, invading and occupying Taiwan would be an extraordinarily difficult act, not to mention a risky proposition. To invade Taiwan, Chinese forces would need to make an 8-hour journey into the teeth of Taiwanese firepower coming from well-entrenched onshore positions. The bulk of the Chinese troops would perish under fire, and those who do manage to reach the Taiwanese coastline would come under a barrage of artillery fire. Only a tenth of Taiwan's coastline is suitable for amphibious landing, so the odds of a surprise attack are slim, and the Taiwanese would likely mobilize their forces at the anticipated landing zones. Taiwan has roughly 130,000 troops, plus another 1.5 million in reserve, plus thousands of armored fighting vehicles and artillery pieces. Thus, to overrun the island, China would need overwhelming firepower, which it currently does not possess. Going up against such a tremendous force would be one of the largest and most complex amphibious operations in history. And that is saying something. Of all the types of military operations, amphibious warfare is one of the most complicated because it entails precise coordination between air, land, and sea forces at a massive scale. Not every military is capable of such tactics. China has no experience in amphibious warfare. The last major war China fought in was the border conflict with Vietnam, and even then it performed poorly. Still, China's amphibious disadvantage is only a strategic vulnerability if America gets involved. But for argument's sake, if somehow a Chinese amphibious assault succeeds, the Chinese army would then have to occupy an island with a hostile population of 23 million. That is not going to be easy, and insurgency would be unavoidable. So a lot of things would have to go right if China's invasion is to succeed, and that is not likely. The first casualty of any battle is the plan of attack. An all-out Chinese invasion at this point in time could theoretically succeed, but it could just as much fail miserably. A military disaster would have catastrophic political consequences. Above all, it would brand the Chinese military as a paper tiger and encourage foreign incursions elsewhere. For China, these considerations are too risky, so a full-scale invasion is not likely in the near future. What is possible, however, is that China begins a hybrid war, which is a type of conflict that stops short of an actual shooting and seeks to subdue the foe through fear and exhaustion. It's the type of conflict employed by Iran, Russia, Turkey, Israel, etc. If performed correctly, a hybrid war can be decisive. That's why Chinese warplanes are flying around Taiwan almost daily, sometimes launching multiple sorties on the same day. The pace of the Chinese incursions is unrelenting. Last year, Taiwan had scrambled its air force nearly 3,000 times against Chinese warplanes, costing Taiwan a whopping $900 million in fuel costs, pilot fatigue, and wear and tear. So without firing a single shot, China is depleting Taiwan's resources. The Chinese military has more than 2,000 fighters, bombers, and other warplanes compared with Taiwan's 400 fighters. So Beijing can afford to keep the pressure. And by increasing the tempo of these operations, the Chinese Air Force can inflict disproportionate stress on Taiwan. It's a deadly effective strategy. The purpose of hybrid warfare is to make the target feel as if it's isolated, as if its allies are not coming to the rescue, and that the military threat is not a bluff. For this to work, the assault needs to be low risk, as not to provoke a backlash from the United States. That would require China to find the right tune in posturing and yet give itself enough room to back down. China could, for instance, impose a naval blockade to suffocate Taiwan. It could intercept Taiwanese cargo ships claiming that they're carrying illicit goods or weapons. No one would believe China, and much of the international community would condemn Beijing's policy, but none of that would matter because no one would physically come to Taiwan's defense. Such a naval blockade wouldn't result in an armed conflict, and would likely force Taiwan into concessions, allowing Beijing to claim victory and back down. Another example would be for China to shock and awe Taiwan into political concession by seizing the Taiwan-controlled Kinmen and Matsu Islands just off the Taiwanese coast. The number of Chinese vessels entering Taiwan-controlled waters has surged in recent years. For comparison, while only 2 Chinese vessels entered Taiwanese waters in 2017, that number jumped to 600 in 2019 and nearly 4,000 in 2020. This one particular satellite image from October 2020 shows more than 200 ships off the coast of one of the Matsu Islands. The threat here is very real. These islands are lightly defended and have some strategic value. Control over these islands would expand China's buffer, while also extending the range of Chinese bombers and anti-ship missiles. America would be unlikely to go to war over a remote island well within China's anti-ship missile umbrella, which would leave Taiwan feeling isolated once more. But the trouble with hybrid warfare is that it means abandoning soft power. Physical action against Taiwan would stir up a zealous independence movement which would make the occupation all the more difficult. So while China could manufacture a crisis to reverse Taiwan's drift towards independence, the prospects of an all-out invasion is overblown, at least in the coming decade. Even then, China would only invade Taiwan if it is confident in its victory or desperate for domestic approval. This reassurance, however, doesn't mean that Taiwan can let its guard down. Quite the contrary. Defense is the first duty of a state, and it is an unfortunate fact that peace can only be secured by preparing for war. I've been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. If you like what we do and you want to support our work, please consider joining